Good morning and welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View this morning. The meltdown. The meltdown's completely on, isn't it? I mean, quite a few of their fans have taken to social media over the last couple of days and they've went off their nut, haven't they? It's fantastic. I'm going to run through. I'm going to run through the referee for the game against Aberdeen. It is Nick Walsh on the lines. Daniel McFarlane and Colin Drummond are on the lines. Nick Walsh, the referee. And on VAR, it's Chris Graham and Duncan Williams. Isn't Chris Graham that Rangers fan? But anyway, we need to get the win against Aberdeen. But let's have a little bit of a look at the meltdown from that other lot before we talk about the game, because it has been absolutely glorious. They want their manager sacked. Yes, that's right, Celtic fans. Rangers fans want him sacked. Let's get this over here out of the way. Bring this down. Here is the first one. It won't be popular, but I imagine, but you're on the right lines. Too many red flags with Rowe. He loses on Sunday, and I would sack him immediately. Another one had some time to think. Genuinely thinking, just sack Rowe. Just sack him. And this is an even better one because he's blocked me, and I don't know why he's blocked me because I've never posted or commented on any stuff, but he has blocked me either way. But Danny Rowe is a good guy. I like him. However, says the Queen's 11, Campbell Aylan. And he says, if you're a serious club and serious about winning things, the club need to make a decision and sack him at the end of the season. They should be working on who is his successor. Today, for me, was the final straw. He has to go. And it got even better last night because they are still going on about the penalty. Let's listen to this.
From obviously our game against Alloa.
Yep.
So with that being said, and with everything that's
Same old Alloa, always cheating.
been said about the penalty that was awarded at Ibrox, I was even convinced it was a penalty. Does that change your mind, Wolf?
I understand why they gave the penalty. I'm not convinced it was a penalty. I understand why they gave it. But look, listen to what Mr. Collum said there. It shouldn't have been given because proximity is important. And where's his arm supposed to go? Yeah, his arm's in an unnatural position for a normal position, but for the challenge he's making, it's a very natural position. You can't jump without your arms going up, right? He knew absolutely nothing about it. The ball hit his arm onto the keeper. Great save. Not a single person in that ground claimed for a penalty. Nobody. The ball went out for a throw in. Celtic took a quick throw in to get the game back on because they had us under the pump and they were looking for an equaliser. The referee had to tell us, hold on, you're away to check a penalty. Nobody, not a single person. Because if Celtic thought for a second that was a penalty, they'd have been round the referee. They'd have surrounded the referee because that's what they do, going, that's a penalty, have a look at that. Not one of them did it. So I get why VAR looked at it, but if what Colum says there is right, that they want the bar to be higher, and they've had consultation on it and they've chatted about it, and everybody agrees that it has to be a higher level than that. They shouldn't even have called the referee over. They should just have went. The directive is like proximity. That's not a penalty. Just play it. Just move on.
Yeah, and I want to leave it there because I don't want to focus on the penalty. But there, that proves to me, and it should prove to many other people that no, Celtic shouldn't have had a penalty. That doesn't change the fact, Wolf, and I said it yesterday, and I will say it again, that Celtic deserved the draw. We won the first half clearly, they won the second half clearly. So a draw was a fair result in the end. And people in the comments can say it's a stonewall or it was going in the net, blah, blah, blah. You just heard Willie call them. Proximity matters, and the bar's got to be higher. So, no, it shouldn't have been a penalty. So you can hit all your crap in the comments about a stonewall or all you want. I like to think that
the refs are on our side because they go down the lodge. Going to jump into some of the comments before we go back into that. And some of them are hilarious. It's a stonewaller and no mistake. The amount of so-called fans that hit out it's a penalty. Celtic were wrong again. They're eager to please Celtic, or are they that weak-minded they don't believe their own eyes? How will it ever change? Absolute muppets.
I'm maybe overly fair, if I'm being honest. And I get a lot of stick for Rangers supporters for being what they would perceive as not fully in the Rangers camp sometimes when I talk about decisions and I get moaned at. So I always like to try and see right down the middle as much as I possibly can. So no, that shouldn't have been a penalty. However, Wolf, has your mindset, has your manner, has your overall outlook on Danny Rowell and those Rangers players changed much since you've had time to get a kip?
Well, I've had time to have a kip. I'm not saying I had one, but I've had time to do it. I think
sleepless nights. I've slept like a baby. Even the night before the game, I slept like a baby. It's great. I had the best night's sleep ever. Great night's sleep last night as well, and the night before.
there's blame to be apportioned to the players and to the manager for the second half, but there's absolutely no excuse for the way we capitulated. I mean, that's completely on the players because they came out and they bossed the first 4 or 5 minutes of the second half. So there's no way the manager said just go out and hold it. You know what I mean? There's no way he said that with the way they came out at the start of the second half. I mean, we should have been 3 or 4 up at half time. A third goal absolutely kills them. Even at 2-1 down, a third goal kills them, the way that game was going. Right? But second half, as soon as they scored, as soon as they looked, let's go and put us under pressure, we panicked. Absolutely panicked. We couldn't get, I mean, I highlighted on the show we did last night, which, as you said earlier, we probably shouldn't have done, but luckily it was for members, so we probably got away with it.
I think we did.
Yeah, they did. They got away with it. They got away with Celtic absolutely winning. But anyway, whilst we can enjoy the moment and live in the moment, there is an important game tomorrow evening. Yes, tomorrow evening, Celtic will they travel up tonight? Will they travel up tonight and stay in the hotel tonight, or do they travel up tomorrow? Usually they stay in the hotel the night before, so they will travel up after training. This morning at Lennoxtown, and then there will be an interview by Martin O'Neill, and I wonder what player that he put out as for to be interviewed by the media today. Whilst the Rangers game was all fine and well, and Celtic came from a couple of goals down, and we can laugh at the fact that they are in complete meltdown about it, the serious business gets back to tomorrow night. But there's one player from the weekend. There is one player from the weekend that hasn't been getting a lot of plaudits. And why not? Celtic fans have been quick enough to say that Kieran Tierney's, I mean, I've even said it, I don't think that he's near where he was earlier on in his career, but he looks as if his fitness is coming back big still. When I'm looking at this picture of him, the physicality of his thighs is coming back. He looks as if he's been working out a lot this season. Because when he came back, I've got to say, his legs were a lot thinner than what they were. And everything that's good about Kieran Tierney, I mean, he put in some fantastic crosses in that game at the weekend. But he also scored from a header. A header. And nobody's been given any chat whatsoever to Tierney. How important will Kieran Tierney be in the running? And, a lot of people have been saying that, Tierney's not captain material, but I think that he could be the secret captain that's sitting and waiting when Callum McGregor steps down in a year's time. But when it comes to Wednesday evening, do we rotate any of the players? Do we rotate the team? Do we make any changes to the starting 11? Do you start, once again, do you take Oxlade-Chamberlain out the team, and do you start Rio Hatate in that holding midfield berth, which he played an absolute blinder with in Stuttgart? Martin O'Neill pulling him back into that holding midfield could be the change in dynamics that Celtic need to get to the end of the season. And a lot of praise has to go to Martin O'Neill and the backroom staff from taking Rio Hatate, who was always further forward. And, he was in the position that Benji Negrin is in. But he's not been really doing it. Having him sitting in that holding midfield role could be an absolute game changer between now and the end of the season. Nothing but 3 points will do tomorrow evening. If we drop any points, it's the same old adage. If we drop any points, we are only handing things to the team that is unfortunately at the top of the table. Now, there was a thing said to me about how many points bring Ox as a impact sub. Maeda hasn't had any plaudits bars either. His movement and header should have really been an equaliser. I think that Dyson's not been getting any plaudits because we know that Dyson can play better than even what he did at the weekend. I still don't think that Dyson's playing at 100%, mate. That's maybe why Dyson's not getting any plaudits. But anyway, we need to look at the fact that the league table and the fixtures that are coming up, where do we think that points will be won? There is a match on tonight, Dundee United versus St Mirren. That's not going to really affect the top six, that one. But then you have Aberdeen versus Celtic tomorrow evening. And then Saturday, there is only the one game on Saturday. It's Dundee versus Motherwell. That's one that we'll all watch with interest because the Motherwell manager has been at the past couple of Celtic games. I wonder if he'll take in any games this weekend. But anyway, that's the only game in the SPFL game this weekend due to the fact that it is Scottish Cup weekend. It's interesting that the Dundee Motherwell is the only game in the SPFL. But anyway, and then we're going to the 14th of March. Getting to the 14th of March, we've got Aberdeen Falkirk, Celtic Motherwell. That's another massive game for Celtic. Hibernian Livingston. That could be a game that could see Hibernian move a position. You never know. Kilmarnock Hearts. Will Kilmarnock take any points off Hearts? Kilmarnock have been scoring goals for fun at home. They did beat Aberdeen 3-0. That's going to be an interesting one because come the middle of March, if Hearts were to drop any points at Kilmarnock, that could definitely put Celtic in good stead as long as we've won all our games up to that point. St Mirren versus Rangers. I'd actually take St Mirren to take points off of Rangers in that game. Dundee versus Dundee United. Falkirk versus St Mirren getting towards the end of the month. And 22nd, you've got Dundee United versus Celtic. Rangers, Aberdeen. Can Aberdeen do anything at Ibrox? It's been a long time since Aberdeen have done something at Ibrox, but and then the final one before the split. That's the interesting one because that's Hearts versus Motherwell, the final weekend before the split. Whilst Celtic take on St Mirren, you're thinking at home Celtic's going to win that one. I mean, there is a possibility if results were to go the right way and if Celtic can maintain, people would say it would be the collapse of all collapses, but can Motherwell go to Hearts and take points off of Hearts? Because unfortunately, that's what we're looking at. We're looking at other teams to try and help Celtic out. Because when you look at the league table, that doesn't lie either. So that hurries up. And the reason I'm talking about this is because after 10 games, Celtic have got less points than what they've had in a very, very long time at this stage of the season. We all know it is nothing new, but you'd be surprised on how many points we are behind when it comes to this point of the season. Going back to 2012, let me just download this. Downloads. Let me just get it up on the screen. When you look at the points that Celtic are sitting on since 2012, with 28 games played, Celtic back in 2012 were sitting on 62 points. 2013 they were sitting on 75 points. These are all years that we won the league, obviously. Even under Ronnie Dyler, we'd be sitting on 63 points. It shows you how far this season, believe it or not, is actually we're further behind than Ronnie Dyler was at the same stage of the season. And then in comes Brendan Rodgers. We're sitting on 80 points, 64, 66. 2019, 2020, Brendan left us. We're still sitting on 76 points. And then 2020, 2021 season, the COVID season, we all know what happened then. We capitulated and we didn't win the league. When you look at when Ange Postecoglou came in, even we were on 67 points, 79 points, 68 points under Brendan Rodgers, and then 72 points under Brendan Rodgers. This year we're sitting on 54 points. We're way behind when what we normally are, and we know this because we've sold Kyogo Furiashi, we have sold Adam Ida. You know, that was the best part of 50 goals between the two of them in one season. So taking away the goals and bringing in the likes of Kelechi Iheanacho, who's now down in Manchester training himself. Will you see Kelechi Iheanacho back at Celtic again? Has he been told, look, mate, you're not going to, I think we're just going to call it quits, and you know, you're not going to get a game next season. You know, I think we'll just pay you off the end of your contract. Just go down south and get yourself fit and find yourself another team in the summer. But ultimately, who plays in goals tomorrow night is the big decision that Martin O'Neill, and how much change does he make to a team that ultimately only got a draw at the weekend. For me, you keep Sinisalo in goals. It is a no-brainer. You take Sinisalo in goals. You take Ross Dohan up to Aberdeen, where he played last season, and he done fantastically well. When it comes to the back line, obviously Austin Trusty is still out injured, so it will be, I mean, do you take Dane Murray out the firing line and put in Benjamin Arthur beside Liam Scales? Or do you mix it up and leave Liam Scales out and put in Benjamin Arthur and Dane Murray, an untested back two? I don't think that you want to do that. I think that you would just leave Scales in, even though Scales was getting pulled out of position at the first half at the weekend. Scales was getting pulled all over the place, positional wise, as the whole back line was. The whole back four was completely woeful compared to what it was in Stuttgart. So Martin O'Neill, does he change it up a bit with the view to the game at the weekend, where you're going to have Scales and Trusty back in? I think Trusty will come back in for the game at Ibrox. Whether you think that's the right decision or not, Dane Murray's been playing fantastically well. Julian Araujo, he starts all day long. Kieran Tierney, he starts as well for me. Kieran Tierney's starting to show glimpses of the player that we had the first time round. A lot of people said that Kieran Tierney will never see out a season. I think that Celtic have managed Kieran Tierney's game time fantastically well this season, and we are starting to see a little glimpses of the Kieran Tierney that was at Celtic before. What does it say for Tony Ralston? Will he get any game time between now and the end of the season? That's the big one. And how much does Martin O'Neill change it for the cup game? That's the big question. When it comes to the midfield, Oxlade-Chamberlain, do you start him? Do you bring him on as a super sub? Do you start Rio Hatate? Or do you bring Rio Hatate on as a super sub again? For me, I'd start Oxlade-Chamberlain up in Aberdeen just to give him the game time, start to get his fitness up. We still do not know how long Arnie Engels is out injured. He's a big loss to Celtic, whether we like it or not. I think his corners are a bit better at delivery than Oxlade-Chamberlain's was woeful, to be honest. I was expecting more for Oxlade-Chamberlain from his corners. Arnie Engels can drop it right on the box. Benji Negrin, he starts, and it'll be Callum McGregor in the midfield. So it's all... I mean, do you bring in Luke McCowan for the game in Aberdeen? Or do you just go with the strongest players possible to give them as much game time as possible? So for me, it's a shout between Oxlade-Chamberlain and Rio Histati starting in beside Callum McGregor and Benji Negrin. Now, Junior Adamu, player that was brought in as a striker. It's not really working for him. But then again, it's not really working for Big Tam the Czech. And it definitely isn't working for Mikhail Ange Balikwisha. Three players that I think that will leave. Well, Balikwisha's on a bloody long contract. Whoever scouted him, and Brendan Rodgers needs put over hot coals because of that one. Kelechi Iheanacho seems to be a way out. When is Callum Osmond back? Declan says, you've just suggested bringing in Ralston into a title challenging team. Mental, surely. No, I didn't. I said what will happen with Tony Ralston. More like that he's not going to get any game time between now and the end of the season. Is his Celtic career pittering out? But anyway, some people just make up stuff in the comments and saying the things that I've not said. But anyway, we move forward. Callum Osmond, when is he back? Sebastian Tenecti. Do you start Tenecti or do you give Yang another shot at the title? As they say. And Joe Mavuka, what's happened to him? He come in, he played one half for Celtic. He had some nice fancy footwork. He was a bit over exuberant in some of the things he was trying to do, but he's another player that has been brought in by Martin O'Neill in the last window, and he's disappeared, completely disappeared from off the radar with James Forrest sitting on the bench rather than Joe Mavuka. Now, you can only have so many players on the bench, but I think the front three that will start the game up in Aberdeen will be Junior Adamu again. It will be Yang, and no, it won't. I think he'll go with Tenecti and Dyson Maeda because it's imperative. It's imperative that Martin O'Neill will want to try and score as many goals. I think that this could be one of those games up in Aberdeen where it's a 3 or 4-0. I think it has to start. It has to start clicking at some point for Celtic. We scored 2 goals at the weekend in the second half. There has to come a point, surely, that this team starts banging in the chances that we have. 17 chances in the second half. Surely some of these will result in a goal fest at some point between now and the end of the season. Now, remember the first half of the season, we only had 3 players out on loan. And one of the strangest things on the Celtic website is that obviously the players that went out loan in the January window was Hateo Inamura, who went back to Japan after a short, very short stint at Celtic. Mark Norovsky, he's obviously still at loan at Hanover 96. He has an option to buy with Hanover with that one. Stephen Welsh wanted away at the beginning of the season, wanted to go and play football, wanted to go to Motherwell. Motherwell wanted him. There was a chance, there was a lot of talk about Aberdeen would maybe buy Stephen Welsh in the last window as they plan to buy as many Scottish players as they can. Stephen Welsh was then played by Celtic against Auchinleck Talbot, which means that he couldn't be sold to anyone else, couldn't play for another club because he'd played for 2 clubs this season. So the only option to him was to go back to Motherwell on loan. Adam Montgomery, they've still got him out as on loan at Livingston, but he has been recalled due to the fact that he is injured. He's got a bad injury. I think his contract's up at the end of the season as well, so I don't think that Adam Montgomery will get a new one. And then there's Odom Ohm, who Celtic still have as being at Los Angeles, even though his loan ended in December. He won't play football again. Celtic need to just do the decent thing and just pay off the end of his contract and let him go and live his life, because it doesn't look like he's going to play football anytime soon. And I don't even know if he's training with Celtic anymore. Lewis Palmer is in Poland until the end of the season. He doesn't want to come back to Celtic. Good riddance to him. Shin Yamada, the weirdest one ever. Brought in to take over from Kyogo Furiashi. He was the player that was meant to be faster than Daisen Maeda. He's now playing second tier football in Germany. And then there's Johnny Kenny, who's getting rave reports down at Bolton. They're absolutely loving him, and they said that he should be able to go back and become a first team Celtic regular in the future. It's going to be an interesting one. You know, we now have 8 players out of the first team. We brought in a number of players, and we've got to say some of them just haven't been good enough. So what does Martin O'Neill do? He keeps with the tried and tested. Anyway, I will be back tonight at 8 p.m. Celtic part-time, where he is. Yeah, I know he's at Lennoxtown, mate, but he's been nowhere near the first team. And that's why I said Celtic should just do the right thing and just pay off his contract so he can go and live his life rather than having to turn up and train at Celtic every day. You know what I mean? But anyway, I shall see you tonight, 8 p.m. Celtic part-time. Make sure you join us for that. And we'll do a preview of the Aberdeen versus Celtic game and what score predictions we might be and how many goals that we really need to score. Or just do we need to just do a Heart of Midlothian and win 1-0 just to keep the pressure on? And will this be the night that we will finally get back into second position in the league? All will come out in the wash, as they say. Have a fantastic day, Celtic fans, wherever you are, all around the world.